The Beverly Hills Hotel's crystal ballroom shimmered under the glow of a 25-foot chandelier, its prisms scattering rainbows across a sea of polished marble. It was June 26, 2025, and Los Angeles buzzed with anticipation for the $75 million charity gala hosted by tech billionaire Marcus Reynolds. The event, a fundraiser for California wildfire survivors, was less a gathering and more a spectacle. A stage where Hollywood elites, Wall Street tycoons, and social media influencers vied for the spotlight. Limousines, sleek and gleaming, purred to a halt every 20 seconds outside the hotel's palm-lined entrance, disgorging guests in bespoke tuxedos and glittering gowns. Paparazzi cameras flashed like lightning, capturing every pose, every smile, every calculated glance. Inside, 12-foot floral installations, flown in from Paris and woven with rare orchids, framed the ballroom's edges, their scent mingling with the aroma of 600 a-plate truffle-infused lobster dinners. Waiters in crisp white jackets glided through the crowd, balancing trays of champagne flutes, each bubble catching the light like a tiny star. The air thrummed with wealth. $10,000 handbags, $50,000 watches, and egos worth far more. Yet, beneath the opulence, a quiet tension simmered, as if the room itself knew something profound was about to unfold. Amid this orchestrated grandeur, a modest black sedan rolled to a side entrance, unnoticed by the valet team trained to spot Bentleys and Rolls-Royces. The car's door opened, and out stepped Keanu Reeves, a man whose presence seemed to defy the evening's excess. At 60, Keanu carried himself with a quiet grace, his 6-foot frame slightly hunched, as if to shrink from attention. His suit, a $100 thrift store find, was neatly pressed but faintly wrinkled from the drive, its black fabric absorbing the light rather than reflecting it. On his wrist, a faded leather watch, his only keepsake from a love lost years ago, ticked softly, a relic of a life grounded in meaning over flash. His shoulder-length hair, streaked with silver, was still damp from LA's humid evening air, and his polished shoes bore the faint dust of Sunset Boulevard sidewalks. Keanu carried no entourage, no security detail, just a worn leather notebook tucked into his jacket's inner pocket, a gift from a child he'd helped during a 2023 Oregon flood. He bypassed the red carpet, sidestepping the paparazzi's lenses with the ease of someone who had long learned to move unseen. His sharp eyes, hidden behind simple sunglasses, scanned the scene not for fame, but for something deeper, something the glittering crowd could not offer. Keanu Reeves didn't belong in this world of curated perfection, and yet he walked as if he did. His steps were deliberate, unhurried, as he passed under a 15-foot floral arch dripping with jasmine and entered a hallway perfumed with cedarwood. The clipboard-wielding usher, a young woman in a sleek black dress, stopped him at the ballroom's edge, her eyes narrowing at his empty lapel. "Sir, guest badges are required past this point," she said, her tone polite but firm. Keanu nodded, his voice low and calm. "Of course." He reached into his jacket, hesitated for a moment, then pulled out a thick ivory envelope, its gold-embossed seal gleaming with the Reynolds family crest. The usher's breath caught as she read the inscription, "Mr. Keanu Reeves, honored guest." The contradiction, his simple suit, his quiet arrival, and the unmistakable mark of privilege, left her momentarily speechless. Before she could reconcile it, Keanu offered a faint smile and stepped past, needing no approval to claim his place. Inside the ballroom, Keanu chose a seat in the middle row, far from the VIP tables, where influencers preened for drone cameras and billionaires traded practiced laughs. Guests swept by without a glance, their eyes trained on the stage where a string quartet played Vivaldi with surgical precision. One woman, dripping in diamonds, leaned to her husband and whispered, "Probably with the lighting crew." Keanu's lips twitched in a faint smile. Being unseen suited him. He wasn't here to be noticed. He was here to witness, to observe the architects of image and power when they thought no one was looking. For years, Keanu had moved through the world quietly, aiding disaster victims from California's wildfires to Midwest floods, never seeking fame. In 2021, he'd hauled 200-pound beams to rebuild a Malibu community center after a blaze. In 2024, he'd funded $25,000 in medical supplies for a Kansas tornado shelter, sleeping on a cot beside volunteers. His name rarely appeared in headlines, but his impact lingered in the lives he touched. Tonight, Marcus Reynolds had invited him to honor a personal debt, a rescue during a 2022 Santa Barbara fire. But Keanu came not for recognition, only because someone remembered. Across the ballroom, Sophia Langston held court like a queen anointed by algorithms. At 30, she was a social media titan, her $15 million brand built on flawless selfies and carefully curated charity posts. Her gown, a $20,000 masterpiece studded with Swarovski crystals, shimmered like liquid starlight, every bead approved by a team of stylists who treated camera lenses like gods. 3 drone cameras orbited her, capturing her every move for her 10 million Instagram followers. Her voice, sharp and melodic, cut through the quartet's strains as she directed her assistant, "Adjust the uplighting 2 degrees warmer. I want radiance, not fever." But beneath her polished exterior, Sophia's smile trembled. One wrong post, one misstep, could cost her a $2 million sponsorship deal. Her empire was fragile, built on the approval of strangers, and she guarded it with a ferocity masked as charm. Then she saw him. Across the ballroom, beyond the glittering guests and perfumed air, a man sat alone. No designer sheen, no badge, no name, just a figure in a plain black suit. His sunglasses still on, his posture unassuming. A flicker of irritation curled at Sophia's lips. In her world, anonymity was a threat, a crack in the facade of perfection. "Zoom in," she told her assistant, who swiveled a drone's lens. The image stabilized dark hair, weathered watch, no pose, no smile. Sophia's expression hardened. "Who let that in?" she muttered, her voice low but venomous. No one answered. She didn't wait. Her heels clicked sharply against the marble as she strode toward him, cutting through clusters of celebrities like a blade through silk. The crowd parted, sensing drama, phones already lifting to capture the moment. Sophia reached Keanu's table, her manicured hand resting on his chair, her smile cold and performative. "Excuse me," she said, loud enough for others to hear. "This area is for invited guests." Keanu looked up, his eyes calm behind his sunglasses. "Understood," he said softly, his voice steady, unshaken. Sophia expected a flinch, an apology, but his composure unnerved her. The stage was set for a confrontation that would ripple far beyond the ballroom, a clash between superficiality and substance, cruelty and kindness. In that moment, the gala's opulence faded, and the true story began. A tale of a man who carried the weight of others' suffering without ever asking for their praise, and a woman whose need for control would soon unravel her world. Keanu Reeves stepped out of his modest black sedan, parked inconspicuously at the side entrance of the Beverly Hills Hotel on June 26, 2025. His 6-foot frame was slightly hunched, as if to deflect the attention that clung to every other guest at the $75 million charity gala. The Los Angeles evening air, heavy with humidity, clung to his $100 thrift store suit, its black fabric faintly wrinkled from the drive. His polished shoes, scuffed with the dust of Sunset Boulevard's dry sidewalks, clicked softly against the pavement. Tucked into his jacket's inner pocket was a worn leather notebook, a gift from a child he'd helped during a 2023 Oregon flood, its pages filled with names of people he'd aided and promises he'd kept. Keanu's faded leather watch, a memento from a lost love, ticked quietly on his wrist. the only adornment on a man who seemed to carry the weight of the world without asking it to notice. He slipped past the red carpet, where paparazzi swarmed like moths to a flame, their lenses blind to his presence. A valet, trained to spot wealth in chrome and leather, didn't even glance his way. Keanu's sharp eyes, hidden behind simple sunglasses, took in the scene, not to be seen, but to see. At the ballroom's entrance, a security guard in a crisp black suit blocked his path, eyeing Keanu's empty lapel. "Badge, sir," the guard demanded, his tone clipped, expecting compliance. Keanu nodded, his voice calm and low. "Right." He reached into his jacket, hesitated as if weighing the moment, then produced a thick ivory envelope. Its gold-embossed seal gleamed with the Reynolds family crest, and the words, "Mr. Keanu Reeves, honored guest," stood out in elegant script. The guard's eyes widened, his stern facade cracking. "My apologies, Mr. Reeves," he stammered, stepping aside. Keanu offered a faint smile and moved forward, choosing a middle-row seat far from the VIP tables, where influencers posed for drone cameras. Guests swept past, their $10,000 gowns and $50,000 watches glittering under the 25-foot chandelier. A woman in a sequined dress whispered to her companion, "Maybe he's with the sound crew." Keanu's lips twitched. He was used to being misread. Marcus Reynolds, the billionaire host, had invited him to honor a debt from 2022, when Keanu rebuilt a Malibu community center after wildfires, hauling 200-pound beams himself in 100 degrees of heat. Tonight, Keanu was here for Marcus, not the spotlight, embodying the quiet heroism Americans admire, but rarely see. Across the ballroom, Sophia Langston reigned supreme. At 30, her $15 million social media empire thrived on curated perfection. Her every move, a performance for 10 million Instagram followers. Her $20,000 gown, studded with Swarovski crystals, shimmered like a second skin, approved by stylists who worshipped camera lenses. 3 drone cameras orbited her, live-streaming her laughter as she sipped champagne. "Adjust the uplighting, 2 degrees warmer," she snapped at her assistant, her voice cutting through the string quartet's melody. "I want radiance, not fever." Beneath her polished exterior, Sophia's hands trembled slightly, checking her phone for likes. One wrong post could cost her a $2 million deal, and she knew it. Then her eyes landed on Keanu, alone in his plain suit, no badge, no flash. Her smile faltered, an anomaly in her perfect world was a threat. "Zoom in," she hissed, and her assistant swiveled a drone's lens. The image stabilized: dark hair, worn watch, no pose. "Who let that in?" Sophia muttered, irritation curling her lips. Without waiting for an answer, her heels clicked across the marble, parting the crowd like a queen descending. She reached Keanu's table, her manicured hand gripping the chair's back, her smile cold. "Excuse me," she said, loud enough for nearby tables to turn. "This area's for invited guests." Keanu looked up, calm behind his sunglasses. "Understood," he said softly, his voice steady. Sophia expected a flinch, an apology, but his composure stung more than defiance. "What are you, some lost stagehand?" she pressed, her tone dripping with mockery. Laughter rippled from nearby guests, phones already recording. Keanu adjusted his notebook on the table, and a breeze from an open window lifted the edge of Sophia's gown. She gasped, her voice rising, "Are you filming me?" Before he could respond, she snatched the notebook, tossing it to the floor. "Get out before I call security!" The crowd's laughter grew, phones capturing Keanu's stillness. His jaw tightened, a memory of his late partner's words. "Kindness is enough," steadying him. Mia, a young caterer, gripped her tray, hesitating to intervene, her eyes wide with conflict. The moment hung heavy, a public shaming that would soon ignite the internet. The ballroom's rhythm shifted when Marcus Reynolds took the stage, his tailored tuxedo catching the LED's glow. His voice, steady but laced with emotion, silenced the crowd. "This gala is for wildfire survivors, inspired by one man," he said, eyes scanning the room. "Keanu Reeves saved my son, Ethan, from a 2022 Santa Barbara fire, carrying him 500 yards through smoke." Gasps rippled through the audience. "You mocked him tonight, but he's given more than most." Sophia's face drained of color. Marcus continued. "He rebuilt a Malibu community center, hauled 200-pound beams in 100 degrees of heat, and funded $25,000 in supplies for Kansas tornado victims." The lights dimmed, and a 20-foot screen lit up with grainy footage Keanu unloading 50-pound crates in Texas post-hurricane, reading to kids in a Missouri shelter, funding a $25,000 water system in rural California. Locals' voices narrated, "He slept on a cot, asked for no selfies." A clip showed Keanu handing a girl a book, saying, "You shine brighter than this storm." The crowd sat stunned. Mia whispered, "He helped my town too." Sophia's phone buzzed. Her mockery video now backfired. Marcus's gaze locked on Sophia. "Cruelty dressed as status has no place here." Two staff members approached her row, resolute. Sophia's $20,000 gown snagged as she stood, her stumble caught by a single flash. By morning, Influencers Fall trended, her brand losing $5 million. Kindness Matters surged with 750,000 posts, fueling $100,000 in donations to LA fire stations. Keanu's silence had spoken louder than Sophia's spectacle, setting the stage for a reckoning that would echo beyond the ballroom. In the Beverly Hills Hotel's Crystal Ballroom, on June 26, 2025, Sophia Langston held court like a queen sculpted from light. Her $20,000 gown, studded with Swarovski crystals, shimmered under the 25-foot chandelier, each bead a testament to her curated perfection. At 30, her $15 million social media empire thrived on 10 million Instagram followers, their likes fueling her need for control. Drone cameras orbited her, live streaming every tilt of her head, every delicate laugh into a $200 champagne flute. "Adjust the uplighting. 2 degrees warmer," she snapped at her assistant, her voice slicing through the string quartet's melody. But beneath the flawless facade, Sophia's smile faltered, her fingers trembling as she checked her phone. One wrong post could cost her a $2 million sponsorship, and in a room of Hollywood elites and tech moguls, any flaw could unravel her empire. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, scanned the ballroom for threats to her narrative. Then she saw him, Keanu Reeves, seated alone in a $100 thrift store suit, his faded leather watch and worn notebook stark against the gala's opulence. His 6-foot frame was still, unassuming, his sunglasses shielding eyes that didn't seek attention. To Sophia, his lack of flash was a crack in her perfect world. "Zoom in," she hissed, and her assistant swiveled a drone's lens. The image stabilized, no designer sheen, no pose, just a man. "Who let this guy in?" she muttered, irritation curling her lips. Her heels clicked sharply on the marble floor, cutting through the crowd like a blade. Phones lifted, sensing drama, as she reached Keanu's table, her manicured hand gripping his chair. "Excuse me," she said, voice loud enough to turn heads. "This area's for invited guests. Check his bag, probably stealing wine." Laughter erupted, a venomous ripple from nearby tables. Phones recorded, their screens glowing like fireflies. Keanu looked up, his jaw tightening, but his voice remained calm. "Just here for a friend, ma'am," he said, steady as stone. Sophia's eyes narrowed. His composure stung more than defiance. "What, some lost stagehand?" she scoffed, snatching his notebook and tossing it to the floor with a thud. "Get out before I call security." The crowd's laughter swelled, a wave of complicity. Keanu's hand twitched, a memory of his late partner's words, "Kindness is enough," anchoring him. He stayed still, his silence louder than her spectacle. Mia, a young caterer, gripped her tray, her eyes wide with hesitation, wanting to speak but frozen by the crowd's gaze. The moment, raw and electric, was captured in a dozen live streams, setting the stage for a reckoning that would expose Sophia's cruelty and Keanu's unshakable dignity. The Crystal Ballroom of the Beverly Hills Hotel fell silent on June 26, 2025, as Marcus Reynolds, the billionaire host, stepped onto the stage. His tailored tuxedo caught the glow of the 25-foot chandelier, but it was the weight in his voice that stilled the crowd of Hollywood elites and tech moguls. The $75 million charity gala, dedicated to California wildfire survivors, had been a parade of opulence. $600 a plate dinners, 12-foot floral arches. But now, Marcus's steady yet emotional tone shifted the air. "This gala," he began, his eyes scanning the 500 guests, "exists because of one man." His voice cracked, raw with memory. 3 years ago, in the 2022 Santa Barbara fire, my son Ethan was trapped in a burning car on a hillside road. Smoke choked the air, 110-degree heat searing through. I thought I'd lost him. The crowd leaned forward, forks frozen, phones lowered. Marcus's gaze hardened. Then a stranger appeared, coughing through the haze, shielding Ethan from falling embers. He carried my 80-pound boy 500 yards to safety, his own jacket scorched, then vanished before news vans arrived. Gasps rippled through the ballroom, a murmur of disbelief. Marcus stepped closer to the microphone, his voice steady but laced with fire. "That man is Keanu Reeves." The name landed like a thunderclap. Guests turned, searching for the man in the $100 thrift store suit who'd been mocked moments earlier. Keanu, seated in the middle row, remained still, his sunglasses hiding eyes that held no need for recognition. Marcus continued. "He didn't ask for headlines. He rebuilt a Malibu community center after the 2021 wildfires, hauling 200-pound beams in 100-degree enough heat. He funded $25,000 in supplies for Kansas tornado victims, sleeping on cots beside volunteers. Tonight you laughed at him, but he's given more than most in this room ever will." The crowd's earlier jeers echoed in their silence, a collective shame settling over the $10,000 gowns and $50,000 watches. Marcus's voice dropped, intimate yet unyielding. "I invited Keanu here to honor his unsung heroism, to remind us what this gala stands for." A woman in the front row wiped her eyes. A tech mogul shifted uncomfortably. The stage lights dimmed, signaling the next moment. A tribute video Keanu had donated, ready to unveil his quiet acts across America. Mia, the young caterer who'd hesitated during the earlier humiliation, clutched her tray, whispering, "He brought water to my family's shelter." The revelation reframed Keanu, not as an outsider, but as a hero whose 6-foot frame carried the weight of countless lives. The ballroom, once a stage for superficiality, now stood poised for a reckoning, as Marcus's words stripped away pretense and exposed the power of selfless courage. On June 26, 2025, the Beverly Hills Hotel's Crystal Ballroom darkened, the 25-foot chandelier's glow fading as a 20-foot screen flickered to life. The $75 million charity gala for wildfire survivors paused, the clink of $200 champagne flutes silenced. Keanu Reeves, seated in the middle row in his $100 thrift store suit, remained still, his 6-foot frame unassuming behind sunglasses. The video, donated by Keanu, began with grainy footage Keanu unloading 50-pound crates of medical supplies from a rusted truck in Texas after a 2024 hurricane, his shirt soaked in 95-degree heat. Another clip showed him, in a Kansas shelter, reading to kids on a cot-strewn floor, his voice stumbling over unfamiliar words, but warm with care. A third scene captured him funding a $25,000 water system in a rural California town, handing tools to volunteers under a 100-degree sun. Locals' voices narrated raw and unpolished. He stayed 3 days, slept on a cot, asked for no selfies, just said, "Tell me what you need." A poignant clip played Keanu in a Missouri flood shelter, kneeling beside a 10-year-old girl, her clothes damp from the 2023 deluge. He handed her a book, his faded leather watch catching the dim light. "You shine brighter than this storm," he said. She smiled, clutching it, her eyes bright against the gray. The ballroom held its breath. No music swelled, no filters glossed the footage, just raw truth. The 500 guests, draped in $10,000 gowns and $50,000 watches, sat in stunned silence, their earlier laughter at Keanu's expense now a weight. Sophia Langston, her $20,000 Swarovski-studded gown dimmed by the screen's glow, gripped her phone as it buzzed with notifications. Her mockery video, once trending, was backfiring. Kindness Matters now climbing with 750,000 posts. Her face drained of color, her $2 million brand teetering. Mia, the young caterer who'd hesitated during Sophia's attack, stood frozen, her tray trembling. "He helped my town, too," she whispered, recalling Keanu's $5,000 donation to her family's fire-ravaged community center in 2021. A tech mogul lowered his phone. A socialite wiped her eyes. The footage shifted Keanu, mud-splattered, stacking sandbags in a Louisiana levee, his 180-pound frame steady. A final caption, faded and directed, and donated by Keanu Reeves. No applause broke the silence. Only a collective awe, as if the room had glimpsed something sacred. The video didn't just reveal Keanu's acts. It reframed him as a hero who carried others' burdens without seeking praise, turning the gala's superficiality into a mirror of shame. The crowd's shift from mockery to reverence set the stage for Sophia's reckoning, as Keanu's quiet courage outshone the ballroom's fleeting glitter. On June 26, 2025, the Beverly Hills Hotel's Crystal Ballroom, still reeling from Keanu Reeves' tribute video, held its breath as Marcus Reynolds, the billionaire host, fixed his gaze on Sophia Langston. His tailored tuxedo gleamed under the 25-foot chandelier, but his voice, steady and unyielding, cut through the silence of the $75 million charity gala. "Cruelty dressed as status has no place here," he declared, his words aimed directly at Sophia. Her $20,000 Swarovski-studded gown, once a symbol of her $15 million social media empire, seemed to dim as 500 guests turned away. Two staff members in formal suits approached her row, their steps resolute on the marble floor. Sophia's entourage, once orbiting her like satellites, avoided her gaze, their $10,000 handbags clutched tightly. Her assistant, scrolling frantically, froze as Sophia's phone buzzed with notifications. Her mockery of Keanu, now a viral wound. Sophia stood, her manicured hands gathering her gown like armor, but the fabric snagged on a velvet chair's edge. She stumbled, her heel catching, and a single camera flash captured the moment, her Swarovski crown tilting, her eyes wide with shock. By 6 a.m., the image trended nationwide as "Influencers Fall from Grace," shared 750,000 times under "Your Kindness Matters." Sophia's brand, built on 10 million Instagram followers, crumbled, losing $5 million in sponsorships as her apology post, hastily typed at 3 a.m., was ignored. The crowd's silence was deafening. Their earlier laughter at Keanu's expense, now a collective shame. A tech mogul turned his phone face down. A socialite whispered, "She misjudged him." The gala, meant to honor wildfire survivors, had become a stage for justice, reflecting America's love for accountability. The aftermath rippled beyond the ballroom. By morning, Kindness Matters sparked a movement across the U.S., with 750,000 posts sharing stories of unsung heroes. In Los Angeles, a fire station received $100,000 in donations inspired by Keanu's story. funding new 500-pound hoses and protective gear for firefighters battling 100-degree wildfires. Communities from Texas to Missouri, touched by Keanu's aid, 50-pound crates in hurricanes, $25,000 water systems, joined the call, donating to local shelters. Sophia's empire, once valued at $15 million, became a cautionary tale. Her curated perfection, no match for Keanu's quiet courage. Mia, the caterer who'd hesitated during Sophia's attack, watched the trending posts, her heart swelling as she recalled Keanu's $5,000 gift to her town's fire-damaged community center. The nation's response, from $100 donations to $10,000 grants, proved compassion outshone cruelty, cementing Keanu's legacy not in the gala's 12-foot floral arches, but in the lives he'd lifted, unseen, across America's heartland. The Beverly Hills Hotel's Crystal Ballroom glowed faintly in the distance on June 26, 2025, its 25-foot chandelier casting a soft halo over the $75 million charity gala. But outside, under the shadow of a 10-foot palm tree swaying in the warm Los Angeles breeze, Keanu Reeves sat alone, the world's clamor fading behind him. His cheek still bore a faint red mark from Sophia Langston's earlier attack, a fleeting wound that paled against the weight of his 6-foot frame, which had carried countless others through fires and floods. His $100 thrift store suit, stained with a splash of $200 champagne from the evening's chaos, hung loosely, its wrinkles a testament to a life lived for others. The faded leather watch on his wrist, a keepsake from a love lost years ago, ticked softly, grounding him in a moment that needed no spotlight. Keanu's worn notebook, tossed by Sophia, but now retrieved, rested in his lap, its pages filled with names of those he'd helped, families in Texas hurricanes, children in Kansas shelters, elders in California's rural towns. The gala's 12-foot floral arches and 600-a-plate dinners felt a world away, irrelevant to a man who measured wealth in lives touched, not dollars spent. Mia, the young caterer who'd hesitated during Sophia's cruel outburst, approached quietly, her footsteps hesitant on the stone path. In her hands was a clean white napkin embroidered with a single gold star, a small offering from a heart that knew his impact. "Mr. Reeves," she said, her voice trembling. "You helped my family rebuild our community center after the 2021 Malibu fire. Your $5,000 donation kept our kids' program alive." Keanu looked up, his sunglasses now tucked into his pocket, revealing eyes that held no anger, only a quiet warmth. "I'm glad they're okay," he said softly, taking the napkin gently, as if it were a memory made tangible. Before he could say more, a small figure darted from behind a pillar. Ethan, Marcus Reynolds' 8-year-old son, his eyes bright with recognition. The boy clutched a crayon drawing, a stick-figure firefighter labeled "My Hero" in bold, uneven letters. "This is for you," Ethan said, thrusting it forward. Keanu's faint smile broke through, a rare crack in his stoic facade. "Keep shining, kid," he said, ruffling Ethan's hair. The boy beamed, his grin brighter than the gala's LEDs. Keanu stood, tucking the drawing into his notebook, and glanced at the LA skyline, its lights twinkling like stars against the 70-degree night. The next morning, CNN and talk shows flooded his inbox, begging for interviews. But Keanu sent a single note: "Tell the firefighters' stories, not mine." His refusal of fame was no surprise. Years of hauling 50-pound crates in Texas, funding $25,000 water systems in California, and reading to kids in Missouri shelters had taught him that true impact needed no camera. The gala's reckoning had already sparked a movement by 6 a.m. Nature and Kindness Matters trended with 750,000 posts across the U.S., raising $1 million for local charities. In Los Angeles, a fire station received $100,000, funding 500-pound hoses for crews battling 100-degree wildfires. From Texas to Missouri, Communities shared stories of unsung heroes, inspired by Keanu's quiet courage. Sophia's $15 million empire, shattered by her $20,000 gown stumble, became a footnote, her apology lost in the algorithm's churn. This story teaches us profound lessons: kindness, not cruelty, endures in a world obsessed with status. Keanu's silence spoke louder than Sophia's spectacle, showing that true power lies in lifting others, not tearing them down. His humility reminds us to value actions over appearances, a call to honor the unnoticed heroes in our own lives, teachers, nurses, neighbors, who give without fanfare. Compassion, like Keanu's, is a choice, not a headline, and it ripples far beyond the moment, as seen in the $1 million raised for those in need. We must ask ourselves, when have we judged too quickly, or overlooked a quiet act of grace? Let's learn to pause, to see, to act with the same selfless courage. To you, our audience, thank you for joining us in this journey of heart and humanity. Your engagement fuels these stories, reminding us that compassion unites us all. Share your own Chocolate Kindness Matters story, perhaps a neighbor who rebuilt a community, or a stranger who offered hope. Let's make compassion outshine cruelty, one act at a time. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that inspire, uplift, and challenge us to be better. Together, we can amplify the quiet heroes, ensuring their light shines brighter than any chandelier. Keanu walked into the LA night, his 180-pound frame fading into the shadows. Unseen, but unforgettable. A man who changed the world not by fighting back, but by never needing to.